Hello everyone, this is Raji. In this video, we will discuss about some of the Azure Data Factory interview questions. So, what is the difference between Azure Data Lake and Data Warehouse? So, Data Lake is a capable way of storing any type, size and shape of data, while Data Warehouse acts as a reciprocity for already filtered data from a specific resource. So while coming to Azure Data Lake, it is mainly used by data scientists, while data warehouse is mostly used by business professionals. And Azure Data Factory is high accessible with quicker updates. While coming to Data Factory, it becomes a pretty rigid and costly task to make changes in data warehouse. So in Azure Data Factory, it defines the schema after when the data is stored successfully, while it is opposite in Data Warehouse, where it defines the schema before storing the data. Both Azure Data Lake and Data Warehouse uses ELT, that is extract, load, transform process. And Azure Data Lake is an ideal platform for doing in-depth analysis, while Data Warehouse is best platform for operational users. So these are the main differences between Azure Data Lake and Data Warehouse. So coming to next, what are the different components used in Azure Data Factory? Azure Data Factory consists of several number of components. Some of the components are pipeline, activity, dataset, data flow, linked service, and trigger. First, pipeline. The pipeline is the logical container of the activities. Activities like copy activity, wait activity, and then there are many more types of activities we can do in the pipeline. Next, coming to activity, it specifies the execution step in the data factory pipeline, which is used for data ingestion and metamorphosis. So this is the activities like copy activity. There are many activities in the Azure Data Factory. Coming to dataset. So dataset is nothing but pointing to the data. So here we can create input data set for input data, and to store the output after copy activity and performing some transformation, we can save that in output data set. So it is nothing but it specifies the pointer to the data used in the pipeline conditioning. Next, data flow. It specifies the data transformation UI logic. Next, link service. So link service specifies the descriptive connection string for the data sources used in the channel conditioning. And next, trigger. It specifies the time when the pipeline will be executed. Next, we have also control flow. It is used to control the execution flow of the pipeline activities. So these are the main components that are in Azure Data Factory. Coming to next question. So what is the key difference between dataset and link service in Azure Data Factory? So dataset specifies a source to the data store described by the link service. When we put data to the dataset from the SQL Server instance, the dataset indicates the table's name that contains the target data or the query that returns data from dissimilar tables. Coming to link service specifies a definition of the connection string used to connect to the data stores. For example, if you put data in a link service from SQL Server instance, the link service contains the name of SQL Server instance and the credentials used to connect to that case. So the data is not present in the link service. That you just establish the link. That's it. Next connection, next Next question is, what is blob storage? So, it helps to store large amount of data similar as text images. It can be used to expose data intimately to the old. Blob storage is most commonly used for streaming audios or videos, storing data for backup, and for situations like disaster recovery, storing data for analysis, etc. And you can also create data lakes using the blob storage. Blob storage is general purpose storage for a wide varieties of scenarios. It can also do big data analytics. Blob storage lets you create a storage account. Storage account has containers that can store the data. We can use it to store text, files, binary data, media storage for streaming and general purpose data. So this is about the blob storage. Next, differences between data lake storage and blob storage. So coming to data lake storage, it is an optimized storage solution for big data analytics workloads. So blob storage, I have already said, it is general purpose storage for wide varieties of scenarios. It can also do big data analytics. Data lake storage follows a hierarchical file system, while blob storage follows an object store with a flat namespace. In data lake storage, data is stored as files and inside folders. In blob storage, we create storage accounts, and in storage account we have containers where we store the data. Data lake storage can be used to store batch interactive, stream analytics and machine learning data, while blob storage we can use it to store text files, binary data, media storage for streaming and general purpose data. So next is how to create an ETL process in Azure Data Factory. First, what we do is we create a linked service. We create a linked service, that is SQL Server database or any linked service, and we create data sets, input data set, output data set. So we require all the data sets that is pointing to the data, and then we create the pipeline and do the activities we need. Copy activity. In copy activity, what we have to specify? We have to specify the input data set, and in copy activity we specify the output data set. Finally, if you want parameters, you can also specify the parameters. All that steps we can do here. Next, we can schedule a pipeline by adding a trigger. So these are all the steps we need to create the ETL process in Azure Data Factory. So next steps. Next question is the knowledge of coding required for Azure Data Factory? No, it's not required. It isn't necessary to have coding knowledge for Azure Data Factory. Azure Data Factory itself provides built-in connectors to transform the data using mapping data flow activities without the knowledge of programming skills or any knowledge. So it helps us to produce workflows very quickly. So that is the advantage of this Azure Data Factory. So coding is not at all required in Azure Data Factory. So next question is, how can we schedule a pipeline? So we can schedule pipeline in two ways: schedule triggered and window trigger. So the trigger follows a wall clock calendar schedule that can schedule pipelines periodically or in calendar-based recurring patterns. We can schedule this pipeline in two types, either schedule trigger or window triggers. Next question. Can we pass parameters into a pipeline? Yes, we can pass the parameters into a pipeline. We can define parameters at the pipeline level, and we can pass these parameters while running the pipeline. So these are some of the interview questions in Azure Data Factory. Thank you.